innovative and creative actions. That's for you. Okay, let's get started. As you know, this is the third time that we try debate. And as usual, this is my brief introduction. And each group will break out for about 7 minutes or so. And then we'll open up. And the affirmative side starts the first session and the argument for about 7 minutes. And after that, the negative side will do the same thing. If they want to challenge the definition, you can, but you have to give enough rationale to change, to redefine the terms. And then you will have 5 minutes, I believe, discussion time in breakout sessions. That is what we have decided after the last session. Then you come back to the general room, and the affirmative side will continue with by refuting the negative side argument and make your argument again, and then it is followed by the negative side in the same way. Each will have 7 minutes, and then you'll have discussion time in breakout rooms. And you come back, and each side, starting with the affirmative, will give a 5-minute summary speech, followed by negative side. And then we'll have a vote by the judge after that. And I set up the votes, and I hope it will work. I am not quite sure, but because this is the first time that I try, but I believe that will work, hopefully. So let me open up the breakout room, and you can go there.
The coronavirus has affected schools throughout the world. Not only does it have adverse effects on students' education, but also has effects on teachers who are at the risk of losing their jobs. And parents are also concerned about their children's education standards and how they cope with stress. And we strongly believe that schools should enable students to learn at home for the following reasons. And as number one, mentioned earlier, required curricular standards will not be met, and students may be forced to study longer hours to compensate for the lost hours. And number two, if the schools go digital, students will be able to develop their computer skills, including the use of software, such as PowerPoint, Excel, and Word, through online classes to get ready for their future education. And students will be able to learn vocational skills.
We negative side, first, would like to define the statement. Elementary, junior high, and high school students in Japan should not use ICT and technology, including online study for learning. But it does not mean to completely stop using ICT and technology, but it means we should keep current level of digitization and should not go too much digital. So first point we would like to make is communication. So we think that too much digitization would bring less communication among students and teachers.
And I would like to focus mostly on the well-being. And for this, I am referring to a study done by some researchers in Japan that took place in Yoko Prefecture in 2011. And they published a research named Influence of Media Use on Subjective Health Study. What they came up with, the conclusions is that, well, first of all, that the media use means the PC, the TV, and the games have a positive association with the unhealthy lifestyle and the subjective health complaints. They have about 9 complaints, which is the depression, sleeplessness, dizziness, poor appetite, high temper, feeling ill, and such and so on. So I would like to compare that they compared between the maximum 1 hour and above 1 hour and less than 1 hour. So the conclusion was that those who are using the PC, only PC, for more than 1 hour, they have a higher frequency in all the complaints I just mentioned, compared to those who are using less than 1 hour. So technology is definitely influencing negatively to the well-being of the elementary school students.
Okay, let's go out to the breakout session. And you have about 5 minutes.
About health problems, I think it is almost the same with online and classroom because they sit all the time except PE program. It, it is not a problem of for online. It is a problem of well, how we can think physical development of pupils.
And someone had said that too much digitalization would bring less communication. But I think there are multiple ways to tackle this problem. For example, one of the online companies has its own chit chat room where employees can share what are on their minds and like can talk whatever they want, ranging from their personal stuff to the concerns from their working conditions. And I think this method could be applied to the school setting if they have like an open room online that where they could socialize and have like live chat, and they'll be able to grow their social skills, and having online platform would eliminate the problem that she was talking about.
Regardless, we want or not. So the society should be go toward to digital after Corona. Therefore, so younger generation in a student should be used to be the digitalization.
Yeah. And also, we can't forget the necessity of budget to implement the universal ICT education system. Syria implemented a tablet device for all the students and teachers in 2017. It cost 780 million Japanese yen to implement 88,600 tablets, which means that one tablet per human per one tablet. So assuming that there are 12 million students and teachers, it will cost 1 trillion Japanese yen only to implement tablet. And we need to update hardware and software every year. So if we have such budget, we can hire more teachers to enhance the quality of that education, or we can use that budget for the research at the university to enhance our industrial level.
Using digital technology is convenient to make document and programming, so it is clear. However, I would like to introduce some example. Some parents living in Silicon Valley raise children tech-free. That means they limit their children to use the technology. According to inc.com, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates both severely limit their kids' tech use. Bill Gates and his wife banned their kids from owning cell phone before they turned 14, and Steve Jobs kept tech to a minimum too. Every night, Steve was discussing about books, history, and various things around the table with his family. They built our tech-obsessed world. However, they wanted something different for their own kids.
Part 3, the last part of the debate, and each team will have 5 minutes to summarize.
Okay, first, we were told that like ICT technology can be like one direction, like from teacher to student, meaning that there is not much interaction like between students, and implementing ICT technology can be very costly, and certain cities or municipalities may not be able to afford such costs. And we came up with a counter argument that like there's online school Minerva. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but they set the standard for communication between students. So yeah, communication is not necessarily one direction. So interacting with one another is not a problem. And we were thinking about the costs. I mean, well, maybe it may be quite a burden for schools in certain cities and municipalities, but we were also wondering that they could split the cost between the Japanese government, you know, and each of the individual municipalities, so that they could alleviate the burden of the cost.
And I would like to make a counter argument. It would cost a lot of money to implement the iPad. I totally agree with you that we should not use the government budget on such things. But the amount of money the government would put in would be wasted if the iPad was it would not be wasted if the iPad was reusable. So if the government made sure that students passed on their iPads to a younger generation after they graduate the school, it would not cost more than printing papers for textbooks every year and holding school for students.
The point we want to say is that so they, as a student, shouldn't stop their learning. That's the point we want to bring this discussion. Yeah. So online class or digitalization is not our purpose. So the purpose is we should continuously provide the opportunity for them to learn.
Our conclusion is very clear that we shouldn't use ICT tool and technology to develop capable people, because as the first part, we mentioned the 3 points. The first point is it leads to the poor communication. And the second part is teacher cannot supervise the student enough. And the fourth part is it have negative impact on the health and well-being. So as for the first part, ICT tool, using ICT tool causes the lack of direct communication. And student cannot ask something immediately to the teacher and classmate. So it causes less interaction. And it is very difficult to show non-verbal language, for example, body language and so forth, and facial expression as well. It is also the very important skill, very important communication skill. And as the opponent said, telework is working, but it has also a number of problems. For example, I'm doing telework at home, but I feel very lonely. I feel isolated. If it happens for the children, I mean the students, in the COVID situation, parents have to care about the child very much.
Okay, let me ask the judges if you have any comments.
First of all, we judge truly appreciate to the both negative and affirmative teams. That's a very fruitful discussions. And on that, we judges also discussing about the breakout during the breakout sessions. Maybe negative team are very supportive by the specific example and evidence, and including, for example, including estimate budget, cost, and also research for health, etc. So then, but later, affirmative side also trying to build their opinions much more stronger, and it is very great.
Thank you for inviting me today, and I voted the negative. The negative team is better than the affirmative team. There are a few reasons. First of all, I think negative team said the define of the statement, the question, and they also use the data. and their evidence was very good and too specific. And on the other hand, if I join the affirmative team, based on the data, for example, according to the Nikkei Asian Review, which Yoko-san sent previously for us, I think current situation, Japan is not leading the world in digital education. Specifically, 80% of students saying digital technology is not part of their classroom experience. But current in world online education, I think Japan education is behind now. So is it good? I don't think so. So I think if I join this team, I will insist on this evidence.
And this time, since education has become such a big topic, I thought it would be a very good one, even though we are not, some of you may have kids in that age, but it's not exactly the sort of the very relevant, directly relevant to you. So, but I thought it would be a very good thing because we are talking about the future generation and what kind of people with what kind of skills and knowledge we would like to develop for the future is such an important issue, and particularly so because as I agree with some of you that Japan is so far behind in terms of the digital education, and I have been very, very surprised. As a matter of fact, even some of the business people just have very little knowledge and skills for digital, and they are the ones who have to be using today. And so if they are not familiar with it, I think it's going to be a little bit a big trouble right now and into the future, near future. But if we don't develop the people with the digital tools, these are the tools only. And we're not talking about the content, but we're just talking about digital as a tool. I think we're going to have very serious trouble. And that's something that I'm quite concerned. So, but anyway, I do appreciate that you're participating in this debate, and I hope you got something out of it. And it's always, as I said, and I know that I had questions from both sides, asking me to define the terms. And the affirmative side has a responsibility or authority to define each term, each word of the statement. They have this privilege. And the negative side can refute, challenge their definition if you don't like it. But the affirmative side can define each term. And I usually, whenever I do the debate, I try to define every single term because everybody has a different definition. And this happens many times in daily life. I'm pretty sure that you have seen a lot of discussion without any foundation or assumptions or the common understanding of what they're talking about. And they go different ways and they just discuss forever. Nothing gets decided. So I think it's very, very important to define the term or to practice how to define the term or challenge the definition. And that's something that I really would like you to do next time around when we do the debate. But debate is always a lot of fun. So I hope that you will get something out of it. Let's go SINCA.